I really want you to think about the never-ending U.S. government budget battles, the string of federal shutdowns and near shutdowns, the downgrading of the Treasury's AAA rating back in 2011, all of that. The roots of that drama can be traced back to a major change in the law that began to unfold in the waning hours of December 6, 1985. That was when congressional negotiators reached an agreement on legislation that would ultimately mandate the government balance its budget within 8 years and abide by annual deficit ceilings that, if violated, would trigger automatic cuts to discretionary spending, called sequestration. The resulting law, commonly referred to as Gramm-Rudman-Hollings and widely derided as an automatic Pac-Man that would gobble up the budget indiscriminately. It was on the surface a sincere effort to halt and to remedy decades of bad budget decisions. But with 39 years of hindsight, we now know Gramm-Rudman never achieved its promise. The deficit, which simply is the money the government collects minus the money it spends, that was a thin record $172 billion. Today, it's a staggering $1.8 trillion. To pay for that widening gap, the Treasury has to borrow money by selling securities. As a result, the national debt, which is just the accumulation of that borrowing and the interest accumulating on those securities, that has now surpassed $35 trillion, 19 times the debt load we had back in 1986. So what went wrong? Well, Gramm-Rudman had several fatal flaws, including exemptions for entitlement programs and loopholes where Congress could technically breach that deficit ceiling without actually triggering those mandatory cuts. Congress tried a second round of Gramm-Rudman deficit controls to address those loopholes, but unfortunately, the results were the same. More legislation followed with the same goal and the same lack of results. But in 1993, newly elected President Bill Clinton did manage to push through a separate deficit reduction plan that did indeed appear to do the trick. By the late 1990s, the U.S. actually posted its first back-to-back budget surpluses in more than 40 years. But like most good things in Washington, that opportunity was squandered, and squandered quickly. The bursting of the dot-com bubble, a recession, and wars in Iraq and Afghanistan would flip those surpluses back to deficits, and this country and its finances have never been the same since. A deficit now at fathoms some say can't be ignored, representing roughly 6% of GDP. And the total national debt as a percent of GDP, that's tripled from 40% in the mid-'80s to 120% at the end of calendar year 2023.